What was the dumbest thing you did while losing your virginity that you believed was normal? Commented on the fact that her cat was peeing in the toilet. Never seen or heard of this before in my life and was absolutely amazed. Consider the world population. Sex happens all the time. It's natural. A cat that uses the toilet, though, that's an absolute novelty. You were not in the wrong. I put my hair into a low bun, looked him straight in the eyes, and said, "Low buns make me feel like a boy in colonial times." No idea why I said that. He just stared at me for a few seconds. A brilliant mind would understand. Look, being horny will make you say and do the weirdest or random stuff. Take it from me. I am a man that once drank some water mid-sex and held some in my mouth, then started making out with my partner and just, for whatever reason, dumped that water that was in my mouth into my partner's mouth. I wasn't met with disgust or hostility after that move. Instead, she immediately swallowed that water I just sloshed into her mouth like a bird, and she just continued to make out with me during our sexy time. It wasn't until afterward she asked me what the fuck was that, and I was speechless. We were 17 and both virgins. My parents had a pool and a little gazebo beside it, with a bar built in. We ducked behind the bar and did the deed as well as two virgins in love could do. Mid-ride, I looked at him and froze. He panicked and thought we did something wrong. I looked him dead in his eyes and said, "We aren't virgins anymore, are we?" "Nope." And then, get this, I put my hand up for a high five. He high-fived me right back, which led to us laughing so hard that my family's big mastiffs ran over and started getting too close for comfort. The sex was ruined, but I still remember it fondly and lovingly. Christian, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you're still high-fiving your partners. Hope you're well. She moaned my name and I said, "What's up? Sue dude? God babe, you're so tight. Thanks, you're pretty cool too." We were kissing and cuddled for some time before and she said, "How far do you want to take this?" Not realizing what she meant, I kind of stuttered a bit and said, "Well, I was hoping to marry you one day," completely unironically. Safe to say we had a pretty good night. My brother's story, his first time consisted of him yelling, "Where's the hole?" Heard it from my room. I just imagined that in Christian Bale's Batman voice and am currently holding my laugh as best as possible so as to not wake my whole fucking family up. I was getting a blowjob and I wanted her to lick my balls, but I didn't know how to tell her, so I whispered loudly, "Balls. Don't leave us hanging," said the balls. We were both inexperienced. She went down and let's just say the vacuum pulled too hard and it hurt. For a moment I felt a part of me might get detached. Teeth are involved, too. I moaned because, well, I was supposed to. Then she went harder. I'm somehow still alive. I lasted for an eternity. It's like 45 minutes at least. I remember thinking about faking an orgasm, but that seemed kind of dumb to me at the time. After a while I just told her a bit stuttery something like, "Sorry. I don't know what's wrong," and she answered very sweet something like, "Don't worry. I just enjoy the closeness to you," which is pretty remarkable considering it was her first time too. After that, I got much more relaxed and came in like 3 or 4 minutes. Did it on the beach. Thought that would be romantic. The sand wasn't. Should have listened to Anakin. TV had given me this notion that pausing the action to put on a condom was a mood killer. Think George Costanza. So while I was eating her out, I quietly put on a condom so I was ready to go. Then of course she was like, "Wait, condom?" And I just grinned and showed her my freshly wrapped peen like, "Already got one," which understandably confused the fuck out of her. I think I invented reverse stealthing. His dick tasted rank to the point the smell made me gag but thought it was normal. It took getting to my current longtime partner who is a very thorough cleaner to realize that no, dicks don't have to taste like week old piss. I just gagged again, oh my god. It was a festival in another country. She was a few years older than me, very sweet and gentle, but also a tiny bit creepy with her tendency to stare at me with big open eyes and her slightly dramatic way to speak. She very openly announced that she would like to make love with me, and that we should go to my tent, and I excitedly agreed. Took out the condom that I was carrying around in my wallet for a few years, and she says that she finds it a bit disgusting, and I don't have to use it since she's on the pill and only had sex a couple of times. Being a bit drunk, excited, Horny, an idiot, I go straight in. Things go better than I expected, and once I felt my time is coming, I tell her I'm going out. She reacts by holding me by the butt and saying, "No, you need to come inside me. I want you to do that." My brain is completely gone, and I do as she said. She hugs me strongly, tells me she's very happy she met me and that she thinks I'm a great person, dresses up, and leaves to go to the bathroom. I never saw her again. She apparently left the festival that night. The name and phone number she left me were both fakes. I know the chance isn't that high, but I sometimes still wonder if I have a child walking this earth that I'll never get to know. Took the condom off and said, "There go our kids, bye-bye," then trashed the condom. By far the best line to say while taking off a condom, LMAO. I couldn't figure out how to put the condom on. Didn't know it was a roll-on type thing. So I held the condom over my mouth, blew into it like a balloon, then tried to quickly stretch it on before all the air let out. After I finished, she was on her back and me on top. She stretched her arms out above her head, which I recognize now she wanted me to grab her arms and kiss her all sexy and dom-like. So instead, I gave her a crisp double high-five hooray. Physically heard my high school girlfriend's grandma turn off the TV and get up and leave after a few minutes. Thin walls in a small house are a nightmare. Before I lost my virginity officially, I was giving my boyfriend an handjob and he was about to come, so he said, "It's gonna make a mess," and I replied, "What is?" He then came all over my hand and I freaked out and yelled, "Ew." I did not know about jizz. I knew sperm was microscopic, so I thought it was just like little germs you can't see that escaped randomly from the penis during sex. I didn't realize there was a liquid component. I yelled, "Yes, Yahoo," while I was coming. Nah, actually? Yup. Not my proudest moment, thinking back at it. She looked back at me during backshots and I waved. Oh god, I can already imagine it. She looks back and you wave with a SpongeBob-type smile. "Hi, how are ya? Wonderful weather we're having." I lost my virginity on a trip to Tulum with a Mexican girl I had met during a previous trip to Cancun. Spanish isn't my first language, but at the time I was near fluent. I was able to communicate with her totally in Spanish and didn't need a translator anywhere we went. We booked a hotel room when my flight landed. La di da, the sexy time starts that night. My Spanish education up to this point did not include dirty talk, so I tried to take cues from what she was saying. She had called me Papi a couple of times, so I decided to flip it around and call her Mommy. I thought that was kind of how the word worked, but apparently, I was wrong. She stopped, turned around, looked me dead in the eyes, and told me never to call her that again. Thankfully it didn't kill the mood too much, but the way she spoke still haunts me today. Still had sex though. As we finished with her on top, she looked me straight in the eyes and let out a Perry the Platypus growl. I couldn't help myself and go, "Perry the Platypus," in my best Doofenshmirtz voice. I asked her about her mom, and I was anxious. Thrust. "So, how's your mom doing after her car accident?" Thrust. "So, your mom, she down to clown or what?" Drew a smiley face on my dick. Once my girlfriend saw it, I said, "Look, he's happy to see you." Okay, so it's legit the dumbest as well as cringe thing ever. So, I'm a female who lost my virginity when I was 19. So, during the whole act, you expect to sorta like bleed during the first penetration, but I didn't, which again is not a big deal. But after we got done and I went to get cleaned, I noticed some blood, and I kept checking and there was definitely blood. Then we were just cuddling in bed and in an hour or two I had a small puddle of blood. And had a mental breakdown and cursed at him that he somehow injured me. Well, after 15 minutes of crying I realized I got my period. Opened 3 packs of lube in the dark, hoping the next one would be a condom each time. Finally said fuck it and threw it in for a 2-pump chump. Got chlamydia and was embarrassed about sex for years afterward. I was 15, she was 19. She wanted to do doggy style on the floor. I complied, but I bent forward over her and rested my hands on the floor on either side of her, mounting her like an actual dog. That's what I thought you were supposed to do. I'll get back to you on that. Come on, we're waiting. I'm trying. Come on, try harder. I wish I knew how. Grunt. Instructions are unclear. I have been put on a list. During our first time, she took off her bra. I'm more of an ass man. Tits are nice, I just don't go crazy over them. I guess she was expecting more of a reaction, so she asked me as if I seemed upset. Didn't want her to be upset, so I say, I like them. They're pretty loggers. Never said poggers unironically. Don't know why I said it. Haunts me to this day. Tried to use a sandwich bag as a condom. She wasn't happy with the idea. We did end up trying with it. Couple of pumps in, she got sad and started crying. We're both from religious families. We of course stopped. There was a good amount of blood on the towel underneath her. A week or two later tried with a condom and went on to have good sex. I finished super quickly and rolled off her and she said, well, that was dumb. Oh boy, my time to shine. So, I lost my virginity at 15 with my high school sweetheart. We kinda knew it would happen soon, so I carried this Trojan Fire and Ice brand condom with me everywhere. So, it happens, right? I have the condom on, and it feels great. I can feel the ice effect and suddenly halfway through it feels great. I thought in my head, okay, that's the fire. Since I'm dumb as fuck and not experienced in sex, I busted a 0.50 calories bullet of a nut into this condom. Turn the light on. And the condom was around the base of my dick. The fire effect didn't feel awesome because of the condom, it felt awesome because that was the condom breaking and raw pussy feels amazing. Anyways, 2 days, a plan B, and an awkward talk with both parents later we were all right. It's the 10th anniversary of her taking my virginity in 2 days. October 8, 2012. Thanks, Haley. I met this beautiful girl at a festival, who later became my first partner. I was 20 and she was 21. She was a friend of my friend, and she came to visit her 2 days later. After talking all night, we went to my apartment and made out until dawn. She was in the army, Israel, and had to go to her base at 6:30. At around 6:20 she says loudly, "Fuck me." I was so confused and surprised, never imagining that it would happen now out of all night. We had 10 minutes, so I was very nervous, looking anxiously for a condom while she lay naked in my bed. Since I was a virgin, I didn't have any, except one that I got as a present from one of my stoner friends who visited Amsterdam. And you guessed it right, it was a weed flavor, green condom, thick as the ozone layer. A souvenir and not something to actually be used. She saw it and burst out laughing. All in a good vibe though. I went inside and frankly didn't even know whether I'm inside or out. Of course, my virgin ass didn't even care because I was thinking to myself, I am actually fucking, at last. Thank you that this journey is over. Needless to say, it was over before she had to go to the army, and as I finished, she asked surprised, "Is this your first time?" All things considered, I rate this experience a solid 5/7. Not me but the girl I lost my virginity with immediately put on, I just had sex, the second after the deed was done. It was both of our first times, and I was uncomfortable. She's a keeper. I stopped and let out the biggest fart I've done to this day. I had been holding it in for some time and each time I had to hold it in it felt like I was going soft. So, I stopped and tried to let it out thinking it would be a quiet one since I was a bare ass with my leg up. Then it was a good 6 to 7 second fart. I remember her saying holy shit was that a fart, but I ignored her and just kept going like nothing happened. I tried putting it in for like an hour and saw it didn't want to slide in, so I asked her if she wants it up the ass instead. Not while I lost my virginity, but my very first group sex encounter. We were hosting and I was the current center of attention. In our bedroom, I looked over and saw my tax documents out in the open. I said, "Nobody touches our tax documents," and immediately ruined the mood. Fortunately, with multiple people, it doesn't take long to get back and they all thought it was hilarious.
Like and subscribe for more ducking content.